Hello YouTube and welcome to my channel. This was going to be my first video, but when the Acura scale PCAs arrived, I decided that I was going to do them first, because I felt that was going to be a quicker and easier video to do. This one would take me a little bit longer. So fitting the flashing tail light was the first video. This one's going to be second. So what I was looking for a depot of some description to depict a scene where British Rail had been in sort of perhaps in the early 70s, upgraded this depot or spent some money in this depot, remodelling different bits and pieces from the old steam days, and then sort of 10 years later, as always with the railway, they decide that they no longer want to use the facility, so they've closed it and left it to sort of get overgrown. With the advent of rail freight distribution, or RFD, coming along, they were then looking for a facility themselves to use the transfer depot. So as this was rail connected and had road connections, they decided to take this building over. So they've made some alterations to it from the old carriage shed or maintenance depot to sort of change it to what they need it for, their facility. So that's what I've tried to do. So as I said, I've looked at the ready to run or the Bachmann one, and didn't really fit what I wanted. The same with the Hornby one. So I looked around. I didn't know whether or not to scratch build something, but again, I weren't sure that my skills were quite up to scratch building something that I really wanted. So I was at Worley in 2018 and I came across this kit, and I sort of looked at it on his layout and went, oh yeah, I think I might be able to modify that. So I have made some modifications to it to change it from what you see there to how I wanted it, or to how RFD would have wanted it, let's put it that way. This is what this video is going to be about. So I'm going to talk you through some of what I've done and how I've done it. I was really lucky that the guy that does the laser cutting for me, I was able to take the kit to him, and we sat down and made some modifications sort of as we were doing the work, which really made life easier for me, because he did all the drawing for me and did all the cutting, but I just sort of stood there and went, no, I don't want this, don't like that. So I got what I wanted. So yeah, let's get into it and see what the finished product's like. also decided on the front that I wanted to change it, because at the moment it's got the 3-road entrance, which was not a lot of use to me for what I wanted it for. So I'm going to go for a brick front, as if it's something that's been modified to suit the later requirements. So the first step was to cut the new front. Just like that. So this is the front that comes with this shed. So plan is to overlay the brick onto the front of this by cutting off these 2 pieces here and inserting an RSJ in somewhere up there to give it strength, and then the brick paper over the top of that. So that's the next project, is to modify this to take the RSJ. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to do was glue this bit to the front of the brickwork. So give this a coat of glue. Okay, this should fit on here. It says. Okay, so the next thing to do is to give this side a coat up with glue, so I can stick the 2 together. There it is on the layout at last. It's far from finished, but I wanted to bring it down to see whether or not it was going to fit, what it looked like in situ, whether or not there was any modifications I needed to make, and bits and pieces of that nature. I have discovered that the actual platform in the middle, which is used for unloading and loading the rolling stock, is actually a little bit too wide. When I measured it and made it, I failed to take into consideration the returns on the brickwork. So although the wagons do fit in, I still think it's a little bit tight, and for the sake of taking 20mm off of the centre of that, I think that would just make the whole thing look a little bit better. So that's what I'm going to do. But that was the whole idea of just coming down here today, just to sort of mock it into position and see what it looked like in place. So we're just going to go now, just going to get my drone, and we're going to go for a little fly around it, and then we'll come back. We'll drop down a little quick look inside. Let's come back and land. I have had permission to fly my drone round, and I think you've shown me correct and proper. You shouldn't be doing it otherwise. Some of you may have spotted that there was some additional yellow brickwork in there. That wasn't where it went through to another facility at one time or another. That was, so the story has it that one night everyone was just there working away, minding their own business, when suddenly the wall just collapsed, you know, like these things happen. There was one big crash, bang, wallop, and it was all on the ground. No one really knew what happened, it just fell away. And around about the same sort of time, or sometime that evening, the forklift that was parked outside, well away from the wall, also sustained substantial damage to the rear of it. Again, nobody knows why, it's just one of them things that happens. Anyway, next day, all the managers arrive and start asking all sorts of awkward questions and putting two and four together, and someone come up with the fact that the forklift had been driven through the wall. I mean, that was just fantasy. I mean, that never happened. Just because there was paint on what was left of the brickwork, and there was all bits of brick all over the back of the forklift. I mean, that was just, you know, really sort of strange thing to say, that they'd had a coming together. And of course, 4 days later, we found out that the forklift had been written off due to extensive damage to the underside of it, where they said they thought it had dropped down. But again, I mean, no one knew what happened. And of course, being back in the 80s, there was no CCTV around to clear the poor guy that they was accusing of doing it. So, yeah, that goes down as one of life's little mysteries.